Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to the Cardfight Empire channel. Today is Sunday, January the 14th, and we are 4 days away from Worlds. We're pretty hype. I have about 4 to 5 options that I'm deciding between right now for playing for Worlds, in case many of you keep asking me, what are you playing for Worlds? What are you playing for Worlds? What are you playing for Worlds? I haven't decided yet, so yeah, you guys don't have to stop asking me that question. It doesn't annoy me or anything, but just to let you guys know, I haven't decided. As you guys can see in the background there, I've been trying to play the Dragon Ball Z Fighters open beta, but it's not letting me in, and I'm guessing from a few sources that it's not letting everyone else in as well. So we're recording this video here. We're doing our last future fight of G-BT12, which was a long time coming because there was a lot of problems through the G-BT12 videos. So today we're going to be covering the G-BT12 Ahsha deck. If I can find it here. Yeah, okay. So yeah, today we're covering the G-BT12 Ahsha deck. And yeah, that's the last deck of G-BT12. Not much to say about that, but let's get right into the G units here. Alright, so we're flipping all of our G units here. Alrighty, so this is going to be a Ahsha Ronnie Marjuka build, because that's a build that I found that's like the most consistent after G-BT12 in my opinion. So yeah, let's get right into that. A lot of you guys have seen a version of this build that I've played or topped with and or won with. So it's kind of different. It has some new things. Not really a lot has changed though, because the deck itself really hasn't changed as much as it will when Zoo Nation rolls around. So yeah, not much to say about that. But as for our grade 3s, we run 8 grade 3s, 4 Ranunculus of Searing Heart Ahsha, and then 4 Summer Heat Flower Maiden Marjuka. So what Ahsha does, this specific Ahsha, I should say, has 3 abilities. The first one is a Bloom ability, Bloom being the keyword for Neonectar. Whenever another unit is placed that has the same name, usually, that's when Bloom happens, if it has the Bloom ability. So this unit has a Vanguard Bloom skill that says when your other unit with the same name as this unit is placed on the rearguard circle, countercharge 1 and soul charge 1. So this becomes kind of useful for the in-phase and playing cards, I guess. Like, you really never use it except for the in-phase of either player's turn, in my opinion, because you never want to just stay on this for your turn unless you can't stride and sorry guys, woo, was about to die. Alright, so like I was saying, unless you can't stride, it is better to just stride and then use this at the in phase of either turn, because the second ability of this card supports the first ability greatly, and the first ability just helps you keep your resources in check, your soul and your countercharging. You should have plenty of soul in this deck. Like, there's never really been a problem for me getting soul in this deck, but as far as counterblast, like, sometimes that's an issue. It just all depends on what you're doing, because we don't have like unflip PGs in this deck, etc, etc. Yeah, Generation Break 2, when this unit is placed, or when the same name is other unit with the same name as this unit is placed on the rearguard circle, countercharge 1, soul charge 1. This means that when a Ahsha is placed on the rearguard circle, and this is your Vanguard without a stride on it, and then also when Thuria is placed and you target Ahsha, because Thuria can take the name of any unit, so Thuria can induce Bloom of any unit. The second ability is at the end of each turn, choose a card from your hand and you may call it to the rearguard circle. So this is what I was talking about. It does help you a lot against control decks. You basically, like, you can start with an empty field and be fine now because of how new Ahsha, or how this Ahsha works. The newest Ahsha is the one from Zoo Nation, so I'm trying not to say new Ahsha, because this is now semi-old but not oldest Ahsha. So yeah, so the second ability just kind of supports the first ability and so on and so forth. You can also play anything that you want to set up for the next turn during your opponent's end phase as well. And then its on stride skill is during your turn when your G unit strides on top of this unit, counter blast 1, soul blast 1, and then you can choose one of your rear guards, search for one card with the same name as that unit, call it to the rear guard circle, shuffle your deck, and then the unit called with this effect gets boost. So this is semi-important and not really important at the same time. Sometimes it's really important that it gains boost. Other times I'm just calling front row attackers, so I want them in the front row anyways, and so the boosting won't be relevant, but it is relevant that it copies a card for counter blast 1, soul blast 1, and this also means that the first ability instantly refunds your stride skill cost because it counter charges 1 and soul charges 1, and the stride skill counter blast 1 and soul blast 1. So moving on, we have 4 Summer Heat Flower Maiden Marjuka. This card, along with Sunflower Maiden Lonnie, is our engine of the deck, and you guys will see that as we go through it. It allows us to draw a lot of cards, and it's just our whole engine. We are running the English version of this deck, I should mention, because a lot of you will see Lisbeth at 4 and be like, what? That's at 1 on the Japanese ban list. Well, we're playing English format because we're in America. So, yeah. But anyways, Marjuka has 2 abilities. First one's on the Vanguard circle, and second one is a Bloom Vanguard or Rearguard circle. The first ability is once per turn, Generation Break 1. When one of your rearguards with the Bloom ability is chosen by the effect of one of your opponent's cards, you can Soul Blast 1 and draw a card. Now, I think that this specific ability should not have been once per turn. I think that in order to fight control, if you have 5 Bloom units on the field and your opponent targets them 5 times, you should be able to Soul Blast 5 and draw 5 cards. I truly, honestly believe that would be balanced and not broken, because if you have stuff like this, before this, Ahsha couldn't really fight Link Choker effectively, and this unit would be really great to ride against control if that were the case. It would just be really good to ride against control. If they lock 5 of your units, you could just Soul Blast 5, draw 5. And then that also requires you to have the soul to do that. And then also have the Bloom units that have to be chosen, because some of your units in this deck are not Bloom. So it just all depends on the situation, what's going on. But yeah. Moving on, its second ability is Bloom Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. When your other unit named Marjuka is placed on the Rearguard Circle, choose up to one of your other units. It gets 3,000 power, and then if that unit is a Sunflower Maiden Lonnie, it gets an on-hit skill that says on-hit, draw a card, and soul charge 1. So the way that this combo works is every time you play a Marjuka and it blooms, you give 3k to the Lonnie and an on-hit skill, and then the on-hit skills stack every time you use Bloom. So let's say you use Bloom 5 times on Lonnie, then you get to draw 5 and soul charge 5 when you hit. So it's very important to keep track of how many stacks you have on your units and how many cards you're going to be drawing, because you don't want to accidentally deck yourself out. I've seen some people attack with a side 5-stack Ronnie, draw 5, soul charge 5, then attack with a 3-stack Ronnie on the other side, draw 3, soul charge 3, and then they go to attack with their Vanguard and they only have 4 cards in their deck. So they don't want to attack their Vanguard with triple drive, because then they'll just deck out the next turn when their opponent passes. So it's very important to keep track of, what you're doing in this deck, because you don't want to deck out, of course. But with that being said, moving on to our grade 2s, we have Sunflower Maiden Lonnie, the card that we were just talking about that is the other combo piece to Marjuka. It has 2 abilities. The first one is a Bloom ability that says Generation Break 1. When your other unit named Sunflower Lonnie is placed on the Rearguard Circle, choose up to 5 of your units named Sunflower Maiden Lonnie and or Marjuka, and then they get a continuous ability that says for each of your units with a Bloom ability, this unit gets plus 1,000 power. So it's very good because the Lonnie, the Marjuka half of it gives you on-hit draw power, and then the Lonnie half of it gives you huge power for your rearguard columns, as long as you activate it a certain number of times. But then it has a continuous skill. When it's on the rearguard or in the deck, it is also treated as a Marjuka. This means whenever you play it to the rearguard circle and you have a Marjuka on the board, it will trigger Marjuka's Bloom and go off. So it's very, very good. Then we have 4 Ideal Maiden Thuria. Ideal Maiden Thuria is basically to trigger any of the blooms in our deck and also to return card to our hand if our opponent lets us keep it on the board until our next main phase. So what Thuria does is 2 abilities. First one is a continuous rearguard skill, Generation Break 1, when this unit would be placed on rearguard, so this is before it would be placed, really. You choose one of your units, and then if you have a Vanguard with Ranunculus in its name, basically Ahsha, this unit will be regarded as a unit with the same name as that unit. So what this means is that it can trigger any bloom, like it doesn't go on the rearguard circle then take the name, it takes the name before it hits rearguard circle, that way you get the on-play skills of other cards. Then we have the auto rearguard Generation Break 1 ability that says at the beginning of your main phase, if you have a Vanguard with Ranunculus in its name, again basically Ahsha, you can choose a card from your drop zone with the same name as this unit and put it on the top of your deck, and then if you do, return this unit to your hand and shuffle your deck. So this card can even return triggers. A lot of people don't realize that, because if you, like, let's say you have some Lisbeths in your drop zone, you decide to call a Thuria to the board and copy Lisbeth's name. Well, the name of Thuria is now Thuria and Lisbeth until whenever it leaves the field, because it doesn't say until the end of turn when it takes the name, it just is forever. So basically, if your opponent allows it to stay on the board until the next turn rolls over, when you go into your main phase, you'll be able to return a Lisbeth from your drop zone to your deck, return Thuria to hand, and shuffle, because it had the name of Thuria, and the only requirement is that you return a unit with the same name. So this card is very useful for getting bloom stacks off when we don't have the actual units, and it just serves as a good placeholder. Moving on, we have Plumeria Flower Maiden Charl. So what Charl does is it has 2 abilities. This is one of our newer cards that came out of G-BT12. It's not bad, but it's not my favorite. It kind of just serves as a backup to the Rodney Marchuka combo. But what Charl does is it has a rearguard skill that says, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Ranunculus in its name, you can look at the top 7 cards of your deck, call 1 card with the same name as any card of your units from among them to open a rearguard circle and shuffle your deck. So basically the first skill of this just helps you fill out your board. Like, I really don't like the first skill of this because I wish that it didn't say open rearguard so that you could attack with a column, attack with Charl, and then call a unit over a unit that is already attacked. But they made sure to plan for that contingency, so you can't do that. I guess that would just be way too good. But yeah, you can't do that with Charl. That's what I, as a Neonectar main player, like, wish that it did. But however, it does not do that, so it just kind of like flushes out your field. If you have an open spot and you attack with it, you look at the top 7, you can fill that open spot probably. Its second ability is Generation Break 1. When your other unit with the same name as this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you choose any one of your rearguards, and then it gets plus 4,000 power and boost. So that ends up being very helpful in some situations because it allows you to have a board of grade 3s and grade 2s, even sometimes like Marjukas from past turns that don't have boost, you can just give them boost with Charl, so it's not bad at all. Then we have 4 Padmini, our stride fodder. Pretty self-explanatory. You want to stride in this deck. Also, you can get Ahsha whenever you have another grade 3 in your hand. So if you have Marjuka and Padmini in your hand, you can play down a Padmini, reveal Marjuka, get Ahsha, and then discard a card. So very, very solid. Definitely a 4 of. Then we run 4 Flower Keeper Dragon as our Sentinel PG. So Flower Keeper Dragon is absolutely so good in my opinion. So what it does is it has Sentinel, which means you can't run more than 4 Sentinels in your deck. You guys know the deal. And then also the second ability is when this card is placed on the guard circle from your hand, you can pay the cost, which is discarding a card. If you do, you choose one of your units being attacked, and it cannot be hit until the end of the battle. That's number 1. So the number 1 thing that should be noted about that is it says units and not Vanguard, so you can PG rearguards as well. And then if the chosen unit with this effect has Ranunculus in the card name that you're guarding, basically if you're guarding Vanguard or rearguard with Ranunculus in its name, you can choose a look at the top 5 cards of your deck, search for 1 card that has the same name as any of your Vanguard or rearguards currently, and then put it into your hand and shuffle. So the reason why I think this card is so good is because I literally can't tell you guys the amount of times that I have not had stride fodder, and then I PG my opponent, and I look at top 5, and there's an Ahsha there, and I'm on an Ahsha Vanguard, and I just add that Ahsha to my hand for next turn stride. Like, this card's pretty amazing. Like, even if you don't end up getting the Ahsha, if you have a full board of different units, you will probably get something, and which makes your PG essentially free, because you discard a card and you get a card back. So it's very, very good. Then we run 4 Prosperity Maiden Diane, or Dian, however you guys would like to pronounce it. This is the remake of our original 8K vanilla that we got for Ahsha. It has gotten an upgrade and some actual skills now. So we'll go over the skills right here. So it has 2 abilities. The first one is Continuous Rearguard skill. If you have a Vanguard with Ranunculus in its card name or the Bloom ability, this unit gets plus 1000 power and resist. So we have needed resist units in Neonectar for so long. So I'm very happy to see that we're getting resist units, and also it gets power. It does have a Bloom once per turn, so you can't like just abuse the power, like go crazy, because it'll only go off once anyways. But the Bloom ability is Generation Break 1 Bloom. When your other unit with the same name as this unit is placed, this unit gets plus 10,000 power, and then at the end of the turn, you can Soul Blast 1 to return this card to your hand. So this card also keeps our soul in check, and then also like we can just play it against like our bad matchups like Kagero, Link Joker, like all the stuff that would normally be able to do stuff to us during our battle phase. We can just play this to the front, and they'll have resist, so they can't be touched. That's kind of why we run it in this build. Then we have 2 Peach Orchard Maiden Arumi. One's a starter, one's just in the deck for extra. What it does is Generation Break 1. So first of all, it has Forerunner, which means it can move back when ridden upon, like most starters in the game. The second ability is Generation Break 1. When you have a Vanguard with Ranunculus in the name, you can shove this card into your soul during the main phase, choose up to one of your grade 2 or greater units, and then search for one card called to Rearguard, and at the end of the turn, return that unit to the hand. So a lot of the starters have been doing this, where they search a card or they get a card out somehow from the deck, and then that card bounces itself to the hand. So the card that I usually copy with this is, you can even copy Vanguard with it, because it just says choose a unit. So if you have no field and you play this card and then you shove it into the soul, you can copy the name of your Vanguard. And so if you're on Lita, like that changes a lot of things too, because if you use Lita first and then you use Arumi, Lita has all the names of the cards in your soul, so you can just choose your Vanguard and then go for anything that has the same name as long as it's grade 2 or greater. So it can be very good. The reason why we run 2 is because when we start off with the 1 at the beginning of the game, after we stride, usually my copy is from Searing Heart Ahsha is a starter. So it just depends on what the situation is. Then we have 4 Lisbeths. So this is the card that is banned to 1 in Japan that I mentioned previously. The reason that it was banned to 1 in Japan is because there was an infinite loop that was going with this deck, and Bushiroad just doesn't like infinite loops. The infinite loop is not really a thing anymore in the meta or at all, just because G-Guardians are out now, because the whole thing was that it can make you not guard from your hand, but now that G-Guardians are out, like it kind of just stops the whole thing or makes it like way less effective. So I really don't even know why Lisbeth is still at 1 in Japan, because it's not like that overly broken. But I guess Bushiroad would just rather put anything to 1 that causes the infinite loop and just keep it there, like Refros, etc. So Generation Break 1, this unit has a Bloom ability. That's Generation Break 1. It says when your other Lisbeth is placed on Rearguard, choose up to 5 of your Lisbeths on the Rearguard circle, and they get an Axe skill that says declare the Axe skill, choose a normal unit from your drop zone, choose up to 4 cards with the same name as that unit from drop zone, return them to your deck, and then return this unit to your deck, shuffle, and draw a card. So what this means is that you can flush out your deck, you can shuffle all these normal units back from your drop zone that you need, and then you can also draw a card for it while putting a stand back to your deck. So it's very, very good. Like, sometimes you can draw additional cards for it if you're using abilities to call out extra Lisbeths. Like, that's just a plus, because you're just going to put it back and then draw something that's actually useful to you, like a PG or something. Then we have 4 Maiden of Daybreak. This is also a stand trigger. This stand trigger just says when it's placed on the Rearguard circle, you can put it back to your deck as long as you're G-Break, and then you choose one of your units, and then 2 of the units with the same name as that unit get plus 5,000 power. So basically just to pump your columns when you really need it. I really never use this unless they're at like 5 damage, because otherwise it's just a straight minus if they could just take the attack. And then I also use it when I need to put cards back to my deck. So then we have 4 Blue Rose Musketeer Ernest. This is the Musketeer stand trigger. We don't ever really use the effect because we don't run Musketeers in this build, and this is not a Musketeer deck. But the reason that we run it is because we can counterboss 1 at any time and put it on the bottom of our deck. And then if we have a Neonectar Vanguard, we can search for top 4 for a Musketeer, which we'll never get, and then we can shuffle. So basically, this is just so that we can have another stand trigger that goes back and shuffles. So we do run 12 stand because the point is to attack with both rearguards and then attack with Vanguard. That's how this deck works out strongest because of all the on-hit abilities that are involved. And then we run 4 Cherry and Blossom. This is our heal trigger from the Fighters Collection. That says when we go into Kostalinia, I want to say is her name. Yeah, like something like that. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. Kostalinia, when we go into her, we can return a normal unit from our drop zone to the bottom of our deck if we use this heal trigger. So it's better than our old heal triggers that we get, so that's what we're using right now. Moving on to our G zone, we have 4 Midsummer Flower Princess Lita. So this is one of our new strides from G-BT12, and this card is absolutely amazing in every Neonectar deck, in my opinion. Like, this card is just so good. Like, it opens up so many possibilities for you to do good plays now, because a lot of times in the past, sometimes you would have a Bloom unit, but it's the only grade of that card that you have in your hand, so you would have to ride it, and then you just lose your Bloom unit if you don't draw that card again by the time you get ready to stride. And then you just mentally think, oh, I wish I, didn't have to ride that card so that it wouldn't be in my soul right now. But this unit changes all of that, because from your first stride, so basically I'll explain the ability first. Activation skill during your main phase, counterboss 1 and choose a Lita and turn it face up in your G zone. Then you can choose up to 1 card from your hand and put it into soul. So this is important to note because a lot of people read it and they say, oh, well, why didn't you put a card into your soul? You don't have to put a card into your soul. It's optional to use the ability. So this card can just straight plus you. A lot of people didn't think that this card was good when they first read it because they thought, oh, I have to -1 by putting a card into my soul just so that I can use it. You don't have to put a card into soul. You can make it just completely free. And by free, I mean a counterblast and flipping it. But it's free as far as like cards in your hand and stuff like that. So you can choose up to 1 card from your hand, put into the soul, and then this unit gets the same name as all the names, card names in your soul. And then you search your deck for a number of cards with the same card names as this unit, equal to 1 plus your G zone face up. Call them to separate rearguard circle. Shuffle your deck, and then if the number of cards in your G zone is 2 or more, aka if you're using on second stride or after you G guarded, then first stride, you choose up to 3 of your units and they get 3k. So the last 3k part is kind of not relevant, but the most relevant part is that 1, this card gets all the names of all the cards in your soul, meaning that when you play Thuria on the same turn that you Lita, and you select Lita, Thuria will get all the names that Lita has as well, because it's regarded as a unit with the same name as that unit, which means if it's regarded as multiple names, then it's regarded as that name as well. So you gain all the names with Lita, and then also that just means for Thuria you have more options to return. Because if you have triggers in your, if you have some triggers inside of your soul, you can have Thuria gain the same name as those triggers as well, and then when the next turn comes, you can just return triggers to your deck and shuffle. So it's very good, very solid card. Like I said, you can get a field off of having your Bloom units in the soul. So it's actually preferred to ride your Bloom units now, so that you can use this first stride and just start plussing. But yeah. Moving on, we have 3 Verano. Verano used to be a 4-0 spot in this deck, but it has gone to 3 in my opinion because we have better strides now. Better first turn strides now, more specifically. Verano puts back cards from our drop zone, but it also makes us put back a card from our hand, which is a -1 to get 1 card, usually. So as our first stride, it kind of lost its place to Lita, in my opinion. Like, Lita's just infinitely better. But when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, you can Soul Blast 1, choose a face-down card from your G-Zone, turn it face up. Then you can choose a card from your hand and Drop Zone, return them to the deck. And then you choose up to 2 cards from your hand, call them to Rearguard Circle. And then you can choose the same number of your Rearguards as the number of cards named Verano, face up in your G-Zone. Then search your deck for those cards and then call them to Rearguard Circle. And then they get a boost until the end of the turn. So this is still useful because it still gives boost to the Rearguards called. We do use it after we use Lita, and your flip targets can be a Verano first, and then your second Verano can flip a Dream Spinning Ahsha. which is fine. And so, yeah, we still run it. It's still useful. It's just not as useful as Lita. We have one Ranunculus and Glorious Bloom Ahsha. It has a Generation Break 2 ability that says Counter Boss 1, Soul Boss 1. Choose a card from your G-Zone and turn it face up. And then if you have a Heart card with Ranunculus in its card name, then you choose one of your units, search your deck for one unit with the same name as that unit, call it to rearguard. So you basically copy it, call it to rearguard, shuffle your deck, and then you choose up to 4 units with the same name as the unit that you just called, and they get plus 5,000 for every Dream Spinning Ahsha face up in your G-Zone. And then if you have a unit on the rearguard with the same name as this unit gets plus 1 critical. So this unit is like really powerful in the late game. You can call like 4 Ronnies you can call 1 Ronnie or 1 Marshuka and then give up to 4 Ronnie or Marshuka plus 5k for each Dream Spinning Ahsha. And by the time that we go into this, usually I have all 3 of these face up in the G-Zone. So what this means is that they'll be getting plus 15k on top of the Bloom power that they already have, which is ridiculous. Moving on to Dream Spinning Ranunculus Ahsha. We never really use her skill straight up unless we're just in a tight spot, and that's the only thing that I can see going into. But its skill is activation skill during the main phase. Choose a face down card with Dream Spinning Ranunculus Ahsha from your G-Zone and turn it face up. Until the end of the turn, this unit gets an activation ability that says choose one of your rear guards, and then if you have 2 or more rear guards with the same name as that unit, all your units in the front row get plus 5k. And then if the number of cards in your face up G-Zone is 2 or more, choose one of your rear guards, search your deck for the same name as that card, call it to rear guard, and that unit gets plus 2,000. So something important to note about this card is activating the first axe skill that the cost is flipping Dream Spinning Ahsha gives you another axe skill, and then it copies the card if you're GB2 or higher, or basically GB3 or higher. So something important to note is that you can use that other axe skill at any time, and you have to declare it again that you're using it again. Otherwise, like, you're just not using the skill that it gave it. So this is like the same like principle as when an axe skill gives the unit the auto skill, how they can't just activate the auto skill without doing the act that activates the auto skill, puts it in place. So yeah, that is very important to note, and make sure you guys remember that. We run 1 GB8 because our GB8 is just broken, in my opinion. Flower Princess of Serenity, Lindrose Primera. So it's basically a, for those of you who know what Primavera does, it's basically a Primavera, but like a way stronger version. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, we can choose 3 units from our drop zone and return them to the deck. And then if we do, we choose one of our units, we search for up to 3 cards with the same name as that unit, and then for each unit called, the units called with this effect and this unit get plus 10,000 power, and then you shuffle your deck. So what this means is that if I have a Ronnie on the board, and then I attack with Ronnie, then attack with my other side, then attack with Vanguard, and I choose Ronnie, I put back 3 Ronnies from the drop zone to the deck, then I call 3 Ronnies out, 2 in the front row and 1 in the back. If I do that, then all of the units that I just called get 30k, and my Vanguard gets 30k, and then all the blooms of the Ronnies will go off all at the same time. So that's very important to note. Like, you can get very, very big columns, and it's a great finisher for this deck. We do run, for our G-Guards, 1 Flower Princess of Cherries, Koshalania, the card that I was talking about before when I was discussing the heal triggers. When this unit is placed on the guard circle, counter boss 1 and flip a G-Guardian face up in your G-Zone, and then if you do, until the end of the battle, this unit gets plus 5,000 shield just for activating it. And then you choose a card from your hand, you can call it to rear guard circle if you want to. And then if the number of units with the same card name as the called unit is 2 or more, then this unit gets plus 10,000 shield. So basically the way that this card works is you pay the cost, it gets 5,000 shield, so it's 31k block by itself. And then if you call a unit and you have another one of that unit on the board somewhere, then it gets plus 10,000, so it can become a 41 block by itself. Pretty solid, not the best, but not the worst flip G-Guardian I've seen. Then we have 2 Sacred Tree Dragon, Rainbreath Dragon. This card has basically been an OG in this deck ever since G-Guardians were released. This is a very good G-Guardian, in my opinion. Not only does it allow for plays where your opponent would do something to you if you have no field. So like, I don't know, Blade Master, when you're playing against Blade Master, when you're playing against VMAX, if your opponent attacks you and you call this, you G-Guard with this and you call a unit off VMAX, your opponent can't VMAX you for and shoot you for a damage anymore when you're at 5, so that's important. And this card just gets around a lot of things, and then also it calls with resist, so even if you're scared of if your opponent retiring you during the battle phase, they won't and they can't, because if you put it behind your Vanguard, like, it'll have resist and it really can't be touched by anything. Yeah, it also allows for a play where you can call Maiden of Daybreak during your opponent's turn to the field, and then Maiden of Daybreak will go off and give 5,000 to your Vanguard for the rest of the turn. So that's a pretty good defensive play. It makes this card a 36k guard, because since you call a card and that's successful, you are 31, and then you give 5,000 to your Vanguard, and that's 36. So I like using that combo the most, because it gets your opponent's other rearguard attacks off you, really. If they don't check any triggers, like, it just ends the turn right there, which is pretty great. And then also we got this new G-Guardian, Rainbow Cycle Dragon. I think this card is absolutely amazing. It will be more amazing in Zoo when we can recycle our heals, but for now it's just okay. When this unit is put into your G-Zone face up after you G-Guard with it, you can choose 2 normal units with the same card name as this unit, or sorry, you choose 2 normal units with the same name as each other from your drop zone, put them to the bottom, and then you can flip this unit back face down, which means that you can reuse it for G-Guarding again later in that game. So they're starting to release a lot of these G-Guardians that flip themselves back face down after use, or you can flip them back down during the main phase, and I think that's absolutely broken. But they're also releasing the heals at the same time that bind themselves so that you can use the ability. So it's kind of like making you, I like what Bushiroad is doing, because they're making you choose between whether you want to keep recycling your heals or if you want to bind them and not get them back to use the abilities of the heals. So yeah. Moving on to our replays, we have Ahsha 1. So it looks like we're playing against an Aqua Force deck. Maelstrom to be exact. They're running Eric as their starter. Oh, this is not the deck. No. Sorry guys, wrong Ahsha video, or wrong Ahsha recording, I should say. Let's see if we can find the right Ahsha recording. Ahsha 2, maybe? This is also not the one. So I think with my, I think I was playtesting a build where that did really well in the Philippines, and I think I might have accidentally overwritten my my games for Ahsha. Let's check and see here really quick. If that is the case, if I have overwritten the Ahsha games, I will just show you guys those Ahsha games and go through those units as they're being played, so that you guys aren't confused and that you guys still get your games for this video. Let's try Ahsha 3. Yep, I seem to have overwritten all of the replays with this. So, alright, so I guess we're just going to watch those for our videos, and I will go over like some of the strategies with that deck. Also, if you guys are interested, I'll drop the deck list in the comment section. Just let me know if you are interested in that build or not. So yeah, loading Ahsha 1. So we're going to be going over this this deck list that I was talking about. So we both start. I'm playing against Maelstrom. I shuffle back and draw my cards. We are running Ines in this version as our backup grade 3 instead of Marjuka. Ines, when its bloom, can go back at the end of the turn as long as its bloom is active, and then check top 5 for a bloom unit. So our opponent checks a trigger, we damage check a draw trigger, and then we draw a card. We ride our 9k grade 2. So these 2 grade 2s that I have on the field, are used to for blocking, basically. Gives you extra guard potential. So that's why we're running this deck. Because you have offensive pressure through Ahsha naturally, and then it gives you some guard. So our opponent attacks us for 13. We block it with a 10k, no pass. Our hand is pretty great, 3 fill, as you guys can see. I attack 9 into the Vanguard. And then my opponent doesn't guard it, but they weren't taking a damage at first. And then we attack them for 16 with our Vanguard. And then they no guard that as well. We check 1. And then we check 2, draw trigger as well. We give power to our Vanguard and draw. This build runs quite a few draw triggers because you want to have a lot of cards in your hand to do the bloom guarding. So our opponent attacks our rear guard, we let it go, and then attacks our Vanguard, we also let that go. And then we check a grade 2. And then our opponent attacks us again, and then we take that again. So we stride, come our turn, or our opponent stays on grade 2, so we actually decided to Sabreeze so that we could use the on-stride skill to call a starter. And then we use a Rumi skill to go into our deck and call a grade 3 Ines. And then we use the other Rumi to go for Ahsha. So our opponent asks us if we have to be Generation Break 1 to use our skills, and I guess he doesn't notice that we are Generation Break 1 because we're on Sabreeze, and that counts towards my Generation Break. So I attack for 11. This game is going really slow. I think my opponent just took a lot of time to think, usually. So he told me to keep going, but I'm in the middle of attacking. So I attack for 11, he takes it, and then I attack with my Vanguard for 26. He drops a heal trigger, and he's trying to G-guard, but he can't G-guard because we're not both grade 3. So he kind of got that wrong. So he returns the card to his deck and returns G-guard in favor of a PG. So we check a draw trigger, adding power to Ines and drawing a card. Then we check a crit trigger. Power to Ines again, and then another crit trigger, power to Ines again, and crit. So then we attack for 26, he guards with 2 10Ks, and then we use Ines skill at the end phase to put Ines to the bottom, check the top 5 for a bloom unit. We add Odette to the hand. And then we go for top 5 again, adding a Ines to the hand this time. Then we go for top 5 again, adding a, what is this card called? Memorum to the hand. This is one of our defensive bloom cards. Then we go again, adding Odette to the hand. And then the Ahsha on our field returns to our hand because it came from our starter. So as you guys can see against control, like that would just be really, really good because you can just empty your whole board after first stride. So there's nothing to burn there, nothing to lock. Like your opponent will have to do it to you during the battle phase. So our opponent Legions, which is fine, I guess. And then he plays Astasia on the rearguard circle. He attacks us with his Stasia. We guard with a draw trigger. And then our opponent attacks us with the other side for 13. And then our opponent attacks us with Vanguard for 24. We no guard this one. And he tells me to wait. Checks a draw trigger. Gives power to Vanguard and draws a card, and then checks a grade 3. We take 1 damage, being a PG. And then we use the in-phase skill to call Odette to the field. We stride. Here we just decide to stride into Dream Spinning, Ranunculus, Ahsha. We counterboss 1, soul boss 1 to search an Odette. Odette's skill blooms and gives 4k to 2 units. So I give 4k to Vanguard and 4k to the booster, even though I'm going to be using Odette's skill to return both to the hand. So I return both cards to the hand, and then I'm going to play a Memorim. And then I'm going to copy the Memorim using Ahsha skill. So then we call triple Odette, basically. Eventually it's going to end up with giving 12k to 2 units, which we give to our Memorims. So then we attack for 42. And our opponent just really can't guard that, so he just takes the damage. And that ends the game without us checking our cards, but we ended up checking a PG. Yeah, so we ended up checking a PG, a Padmini, and then a heal trigger. So we would not have healed, but because he was at 5, but he couldn't guard that attack, so that just ended up being the game right there. We are opening area for our second game. I'm like really sad that I overwrote the replays on accident for you guys, because I really wanted to show you how that build worked. Maybe I'll do like a stream later and show you guys if you guys are interested when I start doing streaming. So going into Ahsha 2. Our opponent seems to be playing Genesis. We open up our hand. We don't have a grade 2, which is pretty awful. We ride Odette, and it's the same concept as I was talking about in the build that we went over previously. It's like you want to ride the cards that are your bloom units so that you can call them. We decided to stay on grade 1 and just attack because we don't have a grade 2. And of course we damage checked our grade 2. Like, I swear that always happens to me in Vanguard. But our opponent attacks us, gets a crit trigger, gives power to rear guard. And then we get a heal trigger, so that's kind of good. We heal off a damage. And then opponent passes turn, we G-assist. We get a Thuria. Then I have to get rid of 2 cards from my hand, and I decide to ditch 2 Ahshas because my hand is a little too grade 3 heavy for my liking. So I get rid of 2 Glorious Blooms because I don't predict that the game will be taking that long at all. Because originally I thought that this is Fenrir Wiseman loop until I saw that Savava, and I was like, oh, maybe it's not Fenrir Wiseman loop. So our opponent uses the crit trigger skill to shove itself into the soul, give 3k to a unit, which I don't even think was really worth, but they use Revelation. Revelation rest the card. And I asked him if he was just throwing down cards, and he said, yeah, that's my... And then I was about to say ninja way, but he said battle style. So he uses Gelja from the soul to stand his rear guard, puts the Gelja to the bottom, and soul charges 2. God, this game is going abysmally slow. He attacks us, we take it, we get a draw trigger, give power to Vanguard, and draw. He attacks our Vanguard, we no guard for 1 to pass. He does get the critical trigger, giving all effects to Vanguard, and then he does get a stand trigger as well. Even though his stand trigger won't be able to hit us because, you know, we're powerful like that, and we hit another draw trigger. Power to Vanguard draw, and then we guard with the draw trigger for his last attack. So we ride Ahsha, we stride. We used it on Stride's skill, we used Lita's skill to call 2 cards. We didn't use the on Stride ability because the other starter's in our hand, so that was kind of awful, but we're using the skill of all these Elmies to get triple Ines column, and that's kind of the play with this deck. Like, you just want to triple Ines, really. But then we attack a Vanguard. He goes to say no guard. We check a draw trigger, putting power to our rear guard, and then draw. We check another draw trigger, power to rear guard, draw. Then we check a crit trigger, crit to Vanguard, and power to rear guard. So, very good, I would say. So he doesn't check any damage triggers. We attack him for 31, and he has to guard with all the cards in his hand that are basically defensive at all. And then he checks the heal trigger for his 5th damage. We use Ines skill to look at the top 5, add a bloom unit to our hand. Ines again, top 5, bloom unit to the hand. And then we use Ines, top 5, bloom card to the hand again. And then our opponent says that he has to leave, so he's conceding to us. I mean, I'm pretty sure that we wouldn't have lost. Like, we have the heal trigger in our hand, a PG in our hand, and a bunch of cards to guard with. Not to mention our 2 Memorims here, which double guard for 10Ks. So we had a lot of shield in our hand. So I'm not sure if my opponent could have broke through that in any way, shape, or form. But regardless, he did just give up. So we are moving on to the next game. Alright, so this game's going to be our Ahsha 3. So this game's going to be our last game that I'm showcasing. We are playing against Kagero. Seems to be Blade Master, but I see the original Blade Master in there, so I'm like, what? But some people like the original Blade Master, I guess. I don't know why, but it seems like he's running Jago and Blade Master. Usually when I see the original Blade Master being run, it's like Cohen and Blade Master. So I don't know like what this guy is doing, but maybe it's just his personal, he likes it better or something. We do take a damage, and unfortunately we don't have a grade 3, and we damage check it, like I say we always do in this deck. So we decided to just stay on grade 2, attack into his Vanguard. He no guards, we check a critical trigger, crit to Vanguard, power to rear guard. He does check a heal and a stand on top of that, so that's pretty good. We attack into his Vanguard, and then he just intercepts. He rides Cohen after top decking it, which is pretty good if you ask me. And then he calls Jago, making me retire my grade 2. And then he's not sub-breezing me, which I guess I got lucky that Maybe he doesn't run some breeds or something like that. He attacks my Vanguard for 16. I no guard. He checks a grade 2 and a grade 1. We check a draw trigger, power to Vanguard, and draw. And then we G-assist. We get our grade 3 Ahsha, thank the Lord. And then the cards that we get rid of from our hand are going to be Thuria and Memory, because we want all the other cards. And we get rid of 2 Glorious Bloom like we did before. Then we Stride. Stride into Lita. Then we use Ahsha skill, Counter Boss 1, Soul Blast 1, and get another Odette. Skill of Odette, 4k to 2 units. Then we use Odette skills to return 2 normal units to our deck. And shuffle. Then we use Lita skill, Counter Boss 1, flip, and then we can call 2 cards from our soul. So we call 2 Memories because we do have a Memory in our soul. The Memories bloom off of each other, and they give each other 2k. Then we call our Memories, give them power. And then we attack for 30k to his Vanguard. He decides to no guard us. We check a draw trigger, power to our rear guard, and draw. We check a crit trigger, crit to Vanguard, power to rear guard. Then we check a draw trigger, power to rear guard, and draw. So a big thing that I like about Neonectar is because you're flushing so many units out of your deck with skills, like, you check a lot of triggers a lot of the time, and your opponent's like, what a sack, but you're like, well, you know, that's Vanguard, man. No, I'm just kidding. But when you thin your deck, you do have more chances to get triggers, so. He does use a Stride skill to kill one of my Odettes, which is fine with me. Like, I can return it to my deck at any time. Like, literally does not matter to me. In my opinion, he should have killed the grade 2s because I get more defensive power off of that. Also, his Vortex Desire has to hit to retire 2 of my units, and we're not letting that happen. So he does use Blaze skill, or sorry, he is Blaze, so he uses Blaze. And then he attacks. I don't know why he didn't use his starter's Blaze skill, but, you know, to each their own. He attacks Vanguard, uses the skill. So I PG, and I drop, and then I look at the top 5 cards of my deck. None of them have the same name as the unit on my board, so I'm pretty sure I just put all 5 of them back. And when he goes to check his 3 cards, he checks a PG, a 3, and a 2. And instantly I thought in my head, I'm like, boy, you dead. And then my opponent just quit the game when they checked that, so I tried to see what would have happened if I took a damage and then just strode into Dream Spinning Ahsha. What would happen? I called it Odette, and I probably just put back the Odettes and then called one off of Dream Spinning Ahsha, and then all these units would have got like so much power, these Memories. So let's see, yeah, so I call, I use Ahsha skill to call another Odette, +4 to both. And then I get 5k because I used the activation skill, like I said before, of giving 5k. And then I just attacked. I know that he would probably PG that, and then I check a stand or a crit trigger, and then I check a grade 2. So overall, it's kind of the same result. I did win that game. And so yeah, that has been the Ahsha G-BT12 Future Fight. I'm sorry that the games for you guys weren't the same deck build. If you guys do want the deck build for the one that I did play, please leave a comment in the section below, and I will be happy to get that to you. promptly. But with that being said, that has been the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like on the video. It helps more than you think. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out the description down below for all of our social medias: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. If you decide to support us on Patreon, we welcome you with open arms, and there are a lot of like prizes and things to gain on there, like a box every month or something like that. But I'll leave you guys to check that out in the description down below. But that being said, this has been Josh from Cardfight Empire, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace, guys.